Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiski. Germany is heading into a so-called super election year, and the far-right alternative for Germany is gaining ground, even in western states like Baden Württemberg, long seen as resistant to its rise. To give us the latest on the ground, we go live now to our correspondent Sascha Farbach in the city of Stuttgart. Hello, Sascha. So, how significant is this particular vote taking place in the southwest? Is the AfD about to break a major political barrier here?
Hi there, good morning, Jonasz. Well, that certainly is not the hope of the CDU. So in fact, I actually just want to draw your attention to how important this election actually is. Now, this has seen the actual CDU party Congress. The Conservatives had that 2 weeks ago here in Stuttgart as well. And the Chancellor himself, Friedrich Merz, was just in the city a couple days ago on Friday evening to shore up that support for the CDU. Now, they will likely do well. This is their heartland. This is their political history. They're neck and neck with the Greens. That's not so much the fear, but nevertheless, the Chancellor is taking no chances himself, giving that lead candidate his own support. And he said, though, that it will be very tight, tighter than expected. That's what he said on Friday. In fact, drawing not just the importance of this election for this region, but for Germany and even for Europe. Let's hear what the Chancellor had to say on Friday.
There aren't many centrist parties left in Europe that can still command a majority in their parliaments. They look at us with great envy, from Italy, from France, Great Britain, from many other European countries, and say, I hope you remain a stable country in the heart of Europe, one we can count on in the future, so that you can once again become the driving force and leader in Europe. They're not looking at me because my name is Friedrich Merz. They're looking at me because I'm the German Chancellor, and from whom they expect a great deal.
Now, with the backing of the Chancellor, that will hopefully for the CDU do something positive here. We spoke to voters. Now, there's a lot of worry about jobs, the economy. It's not just migration. And here, big names, Porsche, also Mercedes, Bosch. I mean, that region here has felt the energy price pinch, the recession pinch. And the AfD, as you said, Jonasz, will try to move in that. Those polls putting them anywhere around 18 to 20%. So they're not going to govern here, but it could be a sign that the AfD may make more inroads, not just in the east of Germany, but also here in the western heartland of Germany as well. We'll see that tonight, and we'll have more coverage. Jonasz, back to you in the studio.
Sascha Farbach there, giving us the latest on the elections from the city of Stuttgart. Sascha, thank you very much for joining us here today. Now moving on to our next story, and as the conflict in the Middle East enters its second week, Israel launched a new wave of strikes overnight, including on Tehran's Shahran refinery and also another strike in the heart of the Lebanese capital, Beirut. According to local media sources, Israel hit fuel depots in the Iranian capital, with eyewitnesses actually providing footage showing a massive blaze burning and fumes rising into the night sky. This night also marked another wave of Israeli attacks against targets in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Lebanon got dragged into the current conflict in the Middle East by Hezbollah, whose fighters basically fired rockets at Israeli territory, and that prompted Israel to retaliate. Now, at the same time, Tehran has continued to retaliate against countries in the region. A government building in Kuwait reportedly caught fire, and an Iranian drone also hit a high-rise building in Dubai. A recent report by the Wall Street Journal suggests that Russia may be providing critical intelligence to Iran. Both President Donald Trump and Steve Witkoff, however, have downplayed the significance of the risks associated with such cooperation while speaking to reporters on board the Air Force One.
He was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I have had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
Mr. Witkoff, have you communicated to the Russians not to send targeting information and other assistance to the Iranians?
Strongly said that.
And do you believe that they are?
I hope they're not.
Do you see any evidence?
We don't know, but it's not doing very well. If they are, it's not helping much. If you take a look at what's happened to Iran in the last week, if they're getting information, it's not helping them much.
Donald Trump and his chief negotiator for the Middle East, Steve Witkoff there. Now moving on to Hungary, where the opposition leader Peter Magyar said in a post on X on Saturday that agents of the Russian military intelligence arrived in Budapest with the aim of influencing the outcome of Hungarian elections. Magyar called out Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán for inviting Russians to Hungary, saying Orbán is attempting to take advantage of foreign interference to ensure his own election win. The opposition leader added that as the country marks the 70th anniversary of the 1956 Hungarian Revolution, which ended in a brutal Soviet intervention in the country, its citizens must fight back against Moscow's interference. Magyar's claims of Russian interference have been confirmed by the independent journalist outlet V-Square. Citing multiple European national security sources, V-Square reports that the operation is overseen by Sergei Kirienko, who previously oversaw the interference campaign in Moldova. His operatives ran vote-buying networks, troll farms and underground influence campaigns aimed at undermining pro-European President Maia Sandu. At least 10 people, including 2 children, are dead after a brutal overnight air assault hit the northeastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Moscow launched a total of 480 drones and 29 missiles targeting both civilian and critical infrastructure across the country.
In Kharkiv, a Russian ballistic missile slammed directly into a 5-story apartment building, resulting in many deaths, including that of a 9-year-old boy. One local resident rushed to help as soon as she could.
When we arrived here 20 minutes after the explosion, I thought I was going to have a stroke. I couldn't string 2 words together and my legs were buckling. I couldn't say anything at all.
Another woke to the sound of her terrified cats.
I was asleep. I woke up and everything was covered in dust. The first thing I heard was my cats freaking out, and I decided that I had to get up, pack my things quickly and run away.
Local officials in Kharkiv say the victims included a primary school teacher and her young son, while several others remain missing under the rubble. In the city of Kramatorsk, a heavy guided aerial bomb struck the central district, killing 1 person and wounding 3 children. A 3-month-old baby was among those injured in Zaporizhia after Russian shelling damaged multiple high-rise buildings and residential homes. Drone strikes in Sumy hit an office building and a playground, while infrastructure in the southern port of Odessa also sustained significant damage. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported that Russia launched hundreds of drones and missiles on Saturday.
Russia used 29 missiles, nearly half of them ballistic, and 480 drones, most of them Shaheds, against Ukraine. They targeted energy infrastructure in Kyiv, the Khmelnytsky and Chernivtsi regions, and the railway in the Zhytomyr region.
On the minds of many Ukrainians is the urgency to acquire more U.S. Patriot missile systems, which could have helped prevent Russian strikes like these, but are now being deployed to the Middle East.
The situation is that during 4 years of large-scale invasion, larger amount of missiles could have been already produced, which wasn't the case yet. And the majority of these missiles were just preserved in the stockpiles and now just gone within less than a week when it comes to the situation in the Middle East.
Ukraine continues to test new UAVs. In Odessa, the Magura naval drone is expected to be able to detect incoming targets on land from hundreds of kilometers away and intercept them almost immediately. For TVP World, Randy Potts.
A symbol of female strength stands at the heart of Warsaw, the city's mermaid. This International Women's Day, our reporter Randy Potts looks at the story of this warrior figure and how she came to represent resilience and female power.
Warsaw, Poland has a long history of bosom-forward, sword-wielding heroines who stand guard to protect the city's inhabitants. The Mermaid of Warsaw, locally known as the Syrenka, serves as the city's most iconic protector, evolving over the last 600 years from a dragon-scaled creature with feet into the defiant mermaid we recognize on the city's seal today. All over Warsaw, it seems, the Syrenka stands guard. In the Old Town Marketplace, this bronze zinc sculpture by Konstanta Hegel remains a central symbol of the city's identity. Any tour of Warsaw's many female guardians must include a trip to the Old Town Market, Nowy Przejazd, Ulica Karowa, the Kościuszko Riverbank, Inżynierska Street, Grochowska Street, Katowicka, and the famous parade grounds of the Palace of Culture. Though mermaids are usually associated with the sea, this Varsovian guardian is technically a freshwater Melusina, a river spirit who found her home under the currents of the Vistula River. Local legend tells of a mermaid who was rescued from a greedy merchant by fishermen. Upon gaining her freedom, she vowed to defend the city with her sword and shield. Some say the Saranka is the sister of Copenhagen's Little Mermaid, two travelers who parted ways in the Baltic Sea to watch over their respective northern capitals. Down by the river in Powiśla, a gunmetal monument of Saranka is one of the few statues to survive the devastation of World War II. Coincidentally, this Saranka statue was modeled after a then unknown young woman, Krystyna Krachelska, who later became a celebrated Polish poet, songwriter, and nurse, who was shot to death while rescuing a wounded colleague during the Warsaw Uprising. Krachelska's song, Hej chłopcy, Bagnet Broń, became the most popular song among Polish partisans during the war. Joining this fighting sisterhood of steel and stone is the Warsaw Nika, a soaring monument dedicated to the heroes who fought for the city between 1939 and 1945. This 7-meter-tall bronze figure, sword held high, is meant to embody the resilience of the victims of the Ghetto Uprising and the Warsaw Uprising alike. Although these are the most prominent female guardians in Warsaw, many more examples are to be found on the city's buildings, streets, bridges, and even the clock on the Palace of Culture. Whether guarding the riverbanks or honoring the fallen, these female figures remain the ultimate symbol of Warsaw's unbreakable spirit and enduring feminine power.
And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and please stay with us here on TVP World.